What's up, guys? We are back with another Cosmic Legions review, taking a look at something a tad bit early. We're taking a look at the T.U.5.C.C Heavy Gunner. So this guy is going to be released in two different ways. So he's going to be released at ISHCON first, here in just a couple days, this coming weekend, but he's also going to be released as an in-stock item next month on the Horsemen's website, on Store Horsemen. So if you're not at the convention, you'll still have a chance to get this guy. Now, as far as packaging goes, it's pretty standard Cosmic Legion stuff. So you got him there in that big box. You've got the window, you've got that sort of hologram projection style shot of him on the front. You've got bio on one side. The other side, though, is a more specific kind of story to this particular figure rather than like a wave story. And then the back of the box gives us cross-sell for everything that we've seen thus far, including this guy. I'm really curious how long it's going to take for this to fill up to the point where they can't put everything on there. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Cosmic Legions T.U.5.C.C Heavy Gunner. Again, this guy is going to be a first release at ISHCON, but is going to be made available on Store Horsemen next month, September. So if you're going, get him. If you're not going, you'll still have another shot. And this is a lot of reuse, right? This is very familiar territory, so if you know what's going on with the T.U.5.C.C figures, you kind of know what to expect here. Let's move him around, see what he can do, all that good stuff. So you got a head. I've got him, let's note, I've got him fully kitted out. This is the look. With the armor on him, with the pauldrons on him, this is the look, and of course, the always necessary tubes. So this is it. It does hinder articulation slightly, so I'll pop some of it off before we finish, just to show you what he's fully capable of, but I figure most folks are going to want him like this, so let's see what he can do. So you got a head that can look up a little bit. He can look down slightly. You've got some tilt. Rotation is going to be hindered here because, well, he's sort of sunken in that chest piece, but it still works pretty well. Your arms are going to go out still pretty far. These pauldrons are not really going to get in the way. They will get in the way when you want to swivel back and forth, of course, but that's not to be unexpected. You've got your single jointed swiveling elbow, get you about 90, forearm swivel, wrist swivel and hinge. You've got multiple sets of hands. You've got some vertical and some lateral. The torso is, of course, your ball peg, so he goes backwards and forwards. Forward's still pretty good, even with this whole thing on him. Side to side, a little bit encumbered, and then you've got your twist. Legs go out all the way at the sides. They, of course, kick all the way at the front and some at the back. You've got a thigh twist there. We've got our single jointed swiveling knee. See, if you want to get a little swivel action there, you can. You've got swivel at the top of the ankle here. And then you've also got your rocker, which is still really great on this body. And then you've got your hinges. So if you've messed around with one of these figures, you basically know what to expect here. Now, as far as the rest of the articulation, let's pull this off real quick and just sort of drape it down. That doesn't look too weird. He does have a little bit more movement at the torso when that's off. He can go forward more, but ultimately it's not going to be that big of a gain. So you're not going to have too much more articulation just because he is or isn't armored. It is going to get in the way. It's unavoidable because of what it is. But I still think, even despite all that, with all this stuff on him, I still think he moves really, really well. Now, as far as the overall look and feel, this guy is, again, a ton of reuse, like entirely reuse, basically. And that's not necessarily a negative. It's kind of the hallmark of the line, right? If you're familiar with the T.U.5.C.C Sentry, if you're familiar with the Science Officer, the Red Jet Pilot, Sligor, you're familiar with what this guy has to offer, specifically Sligor and the Red Jet, because he uses that same carapace that we've kind of already talked about. But what really does it for me with this figure is 100% the paint job. And now that I have him in hand, there is some serious, like, cosmic Michelangelo Ninja Turtle going on here. Like, this literally is Ninja Turtle green. And this orange, it's not super bright orange. Like, this is not the same color orange that's on Wall Tour or anything like that. This looks like Michelangelo orange almost to me. Like, there's something really weird going on in my head in terms of what this thing represents and makes me want to see somebody do cosmic turtles like this. But this looks so good, and there's something about, for me anyway, when it comes to Legions, Cosmic or Mythic, to see parts that I'm already familiar with, really familiar with at this point, done up in an entirely different way with color schemes that I would have never expected. Because I don't paint a lot, and I don't do a lot of swapping lately anyway. So to see something that I'm really familiar with, like this body and these parts done up in this color scheme, is pretty wild. Like, it basically is an entirely new figure despite being a lot of the same stuff. So you've got, the standard Tusk legs and arms. You've got, a belt that we're familiar with. We've got the Sligor, the Carapace thing that we got with him, and the Red Jets. These are, I believe, Novian Lund's pauldrons, which again, pauldrons are still relatively uncommon in Cosmic. They're becoming more common, but they weren't in the first wave for sure. We've got tubes, and of course you can put the tubes wherever you want. Anything that has one of these ports, pop one of the tubes in. He comes with one of the back adapter doodads for the tubes, and I think the tubes are definitely like an integral part of this guy. Like they have to be on there, just like with the Red Jets. You need them. It completes the look, which is why I've kind of got him fully kitted out right now, because I think despite, of course, being really kind of crammed into this armor and being a full figure underneath that stuff, this is the look. He's not really intended specifically to be shown without all of this stuff on. He does look kind of odd without it. I think this is 100% the look, and I'm really, really happy with the way it turned out. The green, again, is super, super deep and very, very consistent across the pieces and all of these parts. Everything is very crisp and clean. The orange, again, looks really good, but it also has this sort of dirtiness and dinginess to it. There's definitely the intent of showing that this has some wear and tear on it, that this guy has been in battle. So I do really like that. There's a wash on pretty much anything that's orange, does have some sort of a wash on it, so I really like that. And then you've got your head sculpt up here, which is the same head that we got on the Tusk Sentry, but it's done up, of course, in the same color scheme. You've got a smoky visor. It's slightly translucent. It's just kind of dark. But then on the inside, you've got this metallic green innards there, which I think looks really cool and is a slight deviation from the rest of the figure. So it's just a nice little pop of metal, basically, in this overwhelming sea of green and orange. There's, of course, little accents, like some of this sort of little bit of, like, almost powder blue, and then you've got the grays there, but it's all about this orange and green. And, I'm a fan of orange, right? But I do really like the way this color works. It's nice and complementary to the green. It works really nicely. And again, whether it's intended or not, I have this serious, weird Ninja Turtle look going on in my head. Now, as far as accessories goes, it's the heavy gunner, so of course guns are going to be involved, but there's a lot more here than just that. You get kind of a standard loadout for Cosmic figures. To start with, we do get an extra piece for the head. It's not an extra head sculpt, it's not an unhelmeted head, but like, the other parts on this figure, very Sligor-esque, pop this off, and then you've got the sort of armored blast shield piece that will go into this. So this piece is recessed, and there's sort of like a relief part underneath that will clasp onto it, and it will peg in like that, and then you can give him sort of a complete armored look, I guess is a better way to say it. So it's got the same kind of color scheme. You've got the green, you've got that orange, and then you've got the sort of slightly glossy, but not super glossy black visor on that. I do really like that, but I also like the other look too. So you've got two really solid options with that. We've, of course, got the pauldrons that we've already talked about. You've got the chest carapace that you don't have to use. We've got the tubes, and then we've got some weaponry, of course, and then you've also got hands. So we've got 8 total hands. You get 4 trigger finger, vertical and lateral hinge, so a set of each, and then you also get the same for your standard gripping hands, vertical set and lateral set. You get the wrist rocket that we've seen with a couple figures. Novian Lund has it, and then we've also got one of the blasters, like the actual handheld blasters, which I've got pegged over here on his waist here. So you've got a gunmetal-y color for the gun itself with a black handle, and then you've got your clear pegs. So of course he comes with the pegs. Everybody's got to get pegs. But then you also get the quote-unquote heavy gun. So this is not a new piece. It's what we've seen with a few figures. It's the Vorga gun, basically, but it's done up in a little bit of a different color scheme now. There is more paint on it in some ways than some other releases. A lot of different sort of silvers and grays and more industrial kind of looking colors here. But there's some also nice copper down here too, which looks really good. Kind of breaks it up. This piece here on the end is removable if you wanted to swap it with one of the others that we've gotten. I do believe at least one figure has a different tip on that. But then, of course, you've got this big honking gun that gives him the complete look and rounds out the idea of him being the heavy gunner. So you've got a lot of options here. The only thing that I guess we might say is truly quote-unquote missing and out of the ordinary for this kind of figure, being a Tusk body, is that there's no extra head sculpt. But with this, I'm perfectly fine with what we've got, because if anything, this is what I would use anyway. So yeah, unsurprisingly, I really like this guy. It's entirely familiar stuff to me. There's nothing really new or different here,
but it's always that kind of thing that gets me excited about a figure because, you know, I'm not a customizer. I don't paint a lot of figures. I rarely do it. So to see parts that I'm familiar with done up in an entirely different color scheme that really works here is fun. It's different. It's pretty garish color scheme, which I do really like. And again, it very much gives me this cosmic Michelangelo vibe. It really, really looks like that now that I have it in hand, and I'm perfectly on board for that. It moves well despite all the stuff you affix onto this figure. He still moves well. He looks great. Comes with a really solid array of accessories. And honestly, it's just a fun looking figure. I'm really a big fan of the Tusk bodies in general. The Red Jet, Sligor, that kind of stuff. And then this one on top of it, really nice addition to the line. So if you're at ISHCON, you absolutely need to get it. And if you're not, you need to get your hands on this when it goes up on Store Horsemen. So that's going to do it for this look at the Cosmic Legion's Tusk Heavy Gunner. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.